So, hello and welcome to the Dharma Life podcast. I'm your host, Aloise.life, and today I have with me another incredible guest, somebody who is walking the spiritual path, doing incredible work in the world. Tabatha DeBruyn is a transformational breath master trained in neuroscience and energetics. She is one of the few certified 9D somatic breathwork practitioners worldwide, and we'll come on to that because I want to hear all about it. She helps people improve, stabilize, and optimize their mental, physical, and emotional well-being. So, Tabatha, thank you so much for coming on the Dharma Life podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, well, your work really stood out to me because it's absolutely fascinating. So I would love it if you don't mind just sharing a little bit about who you are and really how you kind of got into this work.
Well, I love the name of your podcast because I do believe that I am where I'm supposed to be because I have followed my Dharma all the way through. When I was a little girl, I always thought I would be a teacher. And sure enough, I started my career as a high school teacher. And I loved empowering people to know how worthy and capable they were of living a life they loved and helping them become curious about learning. And I found that as much as I loved teaching, I had a nudge that I wanted to make a big difference in this world. And I did as a teacher, but I also felt my life was capped because my salary was capped. I am blessed with two kids. And my husband and I have been together for 34 years now. And I figure it's the seventh marriage within the marriage because we continue to grow and evolve and learn. But my kids are now 26 and 23. But at the time when they were 9 and 11, I really had a desire to show them more of the world and to have adventures, but also to be able to give back in mission work. And you have to have time flexibility and finances to be able to do that. So I moved into entrepreneurship alongside teaching and health and wellness and empowering people to live lives and in bodies that in mind, body, and soul that are filled with energy and vitality is a passion. And I really believe that that was a calling. I built a multi-million-dollar online business in about 12 months alongside teaching. And again, I think that's when you have a nudge. And as much as people thought I was crazy, I went with it and I loved it. And I leaned into entrepreneurship and I chose to leave the classroom because the world became my classroom. So I started to do mission work, instrumental in building a school in Guatemala. Currently, we work with one in Tanzania because education and growth and evolution is so important to me. But then I started to move into transformational coaching and teaching other startup entrepreneurs. And what would happen is I'd have these incredible people in front of me, and they would have these desires and these dreams, and they would stop themselves. And I kept coming up against limiting beliefs. So I went back to school while I was continuing to build the two businesses, the coaching as well as the online health and wellness. And I studied metaphysical psychology. And then I started to really work in that realm, loved it, and found that I was very curious about the subconscious mind. And so went back to school again while simultaneously building these things and studied rapid transformational hypnotic therapy. This is me just
Wow.
following my Dharma,
Mm.
following a nudge. And everything was just one door opened, another door opened. And while I was working with the two businesses, I was creating my own schedule and I had a number of modalities to support people. But this is where I found that my Dharma took me in another curvy place because at 58 years old, my mom became rapidly very ill. And it caused a lot of anxiety and PTSD in my family. And even though they said we weren't going to have her for many days after that, I was a primary caregiver for my mom while she was in a home. So I did have a lot of support for 10 years. The beauty is, I never left anything unsaid because I never knew if this was the last time I was going to be with her. But after 10 years, and it was a windy road, it's certainly from contrast comes clarity and more evolution. She passed, and I knew I would grieve when she passed. But again, because we had that extra time, I didn't know the depth of despair I would fall into after she passed. My identity completely changed in so many ways. Now, I was fine as long as I was doing and serving. If I was being the coach, the entrepreneur, the mom, the wife, was fine. But the moment I was by myself, I fell apart. I started to have panic attacks. I started to have insomnia. My hands were going numb. My heart was palpitating. And I realized that I was in functional depression, but I didn't want to tell anybody. I was embarrassed. I'm the person people come to with all modalities.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, but when the student is ready, the teacher comes. And that's when I found Somatic Breathwork with Brian Kelly. He is the founder of Breath Masters and 9D Breathwork. When I investigated it, he came across my Instagram feed. When I investigated the modality, I thought I've used breath work before, but this is different. I'd always used breath work in a meditative state as opposed to an active state to be able to draw up some of the things I had repressed. So what 9D breath work is, one, first and foremost, the breath is the medicine, because when you change the state in the body through breath, you can then change the state in the mind. Now, through conscious, connected, active breathing and the intricate soundscape, which I'll talk about in a little bit, I was able to move into the subconscious mind, where I realized that I had repressed a lot of anger, had no conscious awareness of it at all, disappointment, frustration, resentment, and a great deal of sadness that I wasn't reliving. It was just coming up and out of the body, using the wisdom of the body to let go. And on the other side of that, I felt like I was in a non-ordinary state, having a conversation with my mom where everything came into an understanding that it had all happened for me. If I didn't know what the depths of despair and burnout and stress and anxiety and depression would feel like, I couldn't know how it can be changed. And after that one journey, I was at greater peace and understanding. And I think it was my mom and we had a soul contract, and she said, I'll do this for you so that you can make a big impact in the world. And so each day since that day, I have dedicated my life to helping people realize you can change the state in the body, the state in the mind, and reprogram your subconscious mind to live a life you really love.
Fantastic. So do you specialize now in working with people with depression, or do you work all across the board?
I do work all across the board, but because people see me, because I'm very honest with my story, anxiety, burnout, depression, addiction loops, grief, and loss are what people tend to come to me for, but they stay with me because they are moving into more joy and human optimization. But I work with athletes, I work with kids, I work with those that are just looking to feel more calm and peace and clarity in the mind as well.
And what we love to talk about on this podcast is the fact that we are walking the spiritual path. And you sound to me like somebody who's listening to their heart, who's really kind of following their joy. Can you describe to me, because you said you listen to the nudges, like how have you tuned into your path? Because obviously it takes courage to leave jobs, it takes courage to act upon the nudges. Like, how do you know when you need to do something? Like, what is it that you are tuning into?
I do tune into my heart. I take a pause. I think that's a big part of it, is taking a pause. I ask myself, is this ego, or is it curiosity? Is it passion? Is it something that lights me up, or is it something that's trying to prove something? And now I can feel the slight difference in my body. When it's curiosity, I have energy stores that are outrageous. And that's what seems to really collapse timelines for me. So I just ask, is this ego? Am I proving something? Or is this genuine, authentic curiosity and passion? Does this align with how I want to show up in the world?
Beautiful. And so I think that's when you said about the energy, like I think we have boundless energy, don't we? When it's our dharma, when it's our purpose, when it's something we're supposed to be doing, we can just do it and do it and do it all day, and it doesn't feel like work, and it doesn't feel kind of heavy. It feels joyful and it feels light. So fantastic. So that's kind of how you tune in and look for what to do next.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
wonderful, wonderful. And would you be so kind? You kind of touched on the 9D somatic breath work, but I would love to understand a little bit more about it and how it can serve our listeners.
So, as a transformational breath master, ultimately what I do is I teach very simple breath patterns to change the state in the body. We live in a frenetic paced society. We're asked to do more in less time. Most of us are living in chronic fight, flight, freeze, but it's our familiar, so we don't even realize it. If it's okay, I'd love to share a breath pattern with your audience that even if you're driving and listening to this, you can move out of that fight, flight, freeze that we often are in into rest, digest, and heal, where you can listen to those nudges.
Okay,
So
lovely.
if we all together, on the count of 3, you're going to take a deep breath in through the nose and you're going to breathe into the belly. Now I'll count you in. Most people, I just would love for people to become aware of their breath because it changes the physiology, and then you can move into mind and subconscious reprogramming so quickly. But most people breathe in and out quickly through the mouth and really shallow into the chest. And the shoulders tend to come up, the jaw gets a little bit tense. And if you do that all day long, you get brain fog. Often you're exhausted at the end of the day. And because you've been there too long, quite often we are in reactionary mode as opposed to alignment. So I'll have you take a deep breath in and you're going to inflate the diaphragm, inflate the belly. And then we're going to breathe longer on the exhale. And you're going to breathe through the mouth like you're breathing through a straw. All right. In 3, 2, 1, take a deep breath in through the nose, breathe into the belly. Now exhale like you're breathing through a straw, nice and slowly through the mouth. That one breath, you probably feel a little bit more grounded. Your heart rate went down, your blood pressure went down. But what I also find really fascinating is we brought more blood flow to the prefrontal cortex, where you can actually have clear thought. So that's just one breath pattern. But not only do I teach down regulation and help people just become more consciously aware of their breath, through 9D breath work, we also use activation. Sometimes in the middle of the day, you're just exhausted. The cortisol's been up, the adrenaline's been up, you're not motivated, you're looking at the computer screen, you can't put a sentence together. So changing the state in the body in for a short period of time into intentional fight, flight, freeze really changes the state. So not if you're driving, but I'm just going to show you how you can do the reverse of this. And that's breathing in deeper through the mouth on the inhale, and you don't even think about the exhale. So I'll demonstrate, or if you're sitting in a comfortable place, in a safe place, because you will feel activated. So I breathe in through the mouth, into the belly, and then into the chest, and then relax and let go. If we were to do 5 of these into the belly, chest, relax and let go. Really deep into the belly, chest, relax and let go. 2 more of these. Relax. Last one. Relax. You probably feel some energy in the body. You might feel a little bit tingly. This is better than a cup of coffee. You know, we often looking for energy. You have an energy source right in you, and it's free at all times. You just need to know how to use it. But you might have felt a little bit lightheaded. And I wanted you to actually see how your physiology changes the way your brain works. We took the blood flow out of the prefrontal cortex, which was where we have ruminating thoughts, where we can get really tired and overwhelmed. And we put it out of the prefrontal cortex into the muscles. But what we did was we opened up your subconscious mind. And this is where 95% of our brain power is. So we can start to extract what no longer serves us. And we can start to be really, really creative and have some of those amazing ideas that might feel new to the conscious mind come out. So ultimately, I teach different breath patterns to change the state in the body and in the mind. And then I use my headphones here. A set of headphones. I work all over the world. You just use little earbuds, but I have an intricate soundscape. Now, this is where the magic happens for people who want to meditate, know it would be good for them, but struggle dropping into meditation because the soundscape uses binaural beats, which slow down the brainwave state, puts you into a more meditative state without having to think about it. And you have surround sound. You don't know where the sound is coming from. We use music. Music evokes emotion. And we use hypnotic script. So we're actually getting into the subconscious mind where you're in a suggestible state and it starts to extract what no longer serves you. And we start to plant with neuro-linguistic programming, which is powerful language, guiding you into thought patterns that are going to serve and optimize you when you're in a aligned state and an energetic state to want to take action, which is where the manifestation comes from. But there are 9 parts to 9D breath work. Breath is the medicine. Breath is the power. But then with the soundscape, binaural beats, frequencies, music that evokes emotion, which anchors in the subliminal messaging, the hypnotic scripts, and your body is like a pharmacy within. And the wisdom starts to let go of what you don't need any longer and starts to dump in things like dopamine into your bloodstream that make you feel really good, anchored in. So all of this starts to reprogram the subconscious mind. So it works in the conscious as well as the subconscious. This is how we can release trauma that can be repressed, can be something you're aware of, you don't relive anything, and it can be generational trauma that you don't even realize, but when it moves out of the body, all of a sudden you feel light and expansive and more clarity of thought. I work with people with anxiety, depression, burnout, grief and loss, identity, loss as well, addiction loops. And I work with all kinds of athletes to take their performance from where it is to where they want to be. Entrepreneurs, high achievers of all sorts that may feel like they've hit that ceiling. Through somatic breath work, we let go of the tension, reprogram the subconscious mind, and help them know they're capable and worthy of moving forward with a life they really dream of.
Beautiful, beautiful. So it sounds to me like the type of people that are attracted to coming to work with you have hit some type of bump in the road, or they're not experiencing optimal kind of performance in their lives. So you can then optimize the performance that they are experiencing.
That's right. Many times people come, they're stuck. They know they're destined for more and they haven't figured it out. They may have done, and I'm all for all different modalities, and they may have done talk therapy for 10 years. One somatic breathwork practice can help them integrate what they'd learned in the conscious mind in the body and start to act on it. The people will say, 1 session, 2 sessions with you, and my life has completely changed. It's like magic. And it feels like magic because it can be that rapid, but it's not magic, it's neuroscience. You change your physiology and there's safety in the body that most bodies haven't in a while. And you start to program the subconscious, and you've got new energy stores, and you also have beliefs that yes, you can do this. So you're programming your reticular activating system to start to see things very differently and opportunities open up. It's actually neuroscience.
So would it be okay to talk us through maybe some people you've worked with, like the results that they've got?
Sure. I had many. I'm going to talk about a lady who, when we did a discovery call, and if anyone is curious, if they go to my website, it's just Tabatha.online. Tabatha has all A's in it. But if I always do a complimentary discovery call. When we did the 30-minute complimentary discovery call, she felt safe talking with me, but she couldn't put any words to it. There wasn't clarity of thought. The nervous system was so dysregulated. After a little bit of breathing and building energetically some space where she knew she was being unconditionally, lovingly held, and she didn't have to have the walls up, this was a safe place to take the mask down. We were able to get to the place where she really disliked her job. She was on probation with her job. She thought she was going to lose her job. Addiction cycles, relationship problems, and really didn't love how her life was looking and wondered why she was continuing. Within 2 sessions, this woman came back for an integration call, had clarity. She had already moved up in the rankings in her company. She had the proposal together for another stream of income that really followed her passion, greater clarity in relationships, had the courage, the confidence to leave a relationship that didn't serve her and do it in a way that she felt she was very proud of how she showed up in that. And out of the addiction cycle completely. So that's just one of the
yeah, and who would have thought that breath work could be so powerful? I think,
and you don't have to talk.
Yeah.
You do it, right? But the beauty, one of my favorite types of people to put a set of headphones on is a 25-year-old man, young man, because it's a place for them to feel the feelings, let them out in a safe environment and know what they're capable of. Because where do young men have a chance to let the walls down in a safe environment and get those feelings out of the body?
Yeah, well, it's not the done thing, is it, for men to still to express their emotions? So I presume this gives them an avenue and an outlet that, like you said, is completely safe and kind of acceptable for them.
Yeah. And they like it because it's entertaining. What's happening in your ears is quite entertaining with all of the different soundscapes. And we use extraordinary music throughout and guided coaching.
Wonderful. And then you have the TAB method as well,
which is transform, align, and breathe. So I teach tangible tools that people can use in any given situation to optimize their life. We want to do it from an aligned state, and the fastest way to get into an aligned state is using a breath pattern. So that's ultimately what I do with my 7-day nervous system reset program, which can be done live or on recording. And they have established a breathwork practice for all different things that happen in life. I think the world is in a precarious position right now, and to have a place and tangible tools to be able to learn, I can choose how I feel in the body and how I use my mind, how I reframe something at any given moment, can be really, really powerful.
And how can people get access to that?
If they go to my website, tabatha.online, if they follow me on Instagram, I always share a lot of breathwork tools, and that's just Tabatha_DeBruyn on Instagram and Facebook. And if they're interested in anything, I really encourage your listeners to reach out and book a complimentary call. I will leave them better than I found them. I will offer them some breathwork tools immediately, and then I can guide them. Is it a full-length online somatic journey? Is it private? Is it regulate? Is it down regulation? Is it activation? And I have an entire library, and I personally curate for people with all different needs. I work with a lot of people with ailments and their caregivers to help regulate the nervous system and optimize their thoughts in hope and belief. And the beauty is, when I do that, when you have a regulated nervous system, people mirror that. So it enhances all areas of your life.
And have you had clients that have cured kind of like long-term illness?
I have. I never say I cure anything. but can I help you tap into the wisdom of the body? And also, so much of our life comes from how we are framing our thoughts and safety within the body. You combine those two, and yes, magic can happen. I have had people come in with sciatica, and they're afraid to lie down for the breathwork session. A physiotherapist with frozen shoulder, she's tried everything. And one somatic breathwork session, while her body was releasing, she was doing this interpretive dance. Whatever comes up, it's always a safe place. You never know. And I'm certain that that came up through generational trauma that she had stored unbeknownst to her in her joints. It was gone completely after.
Wow, fantastic. Because I've always found that, like, when you tap into the unconscious, like I've had people come to me who have been suffering with anxiety and depression, and one of the things I always ask them to do is journal out their feelings and their emotions, because I truly believe that we have trapped trauma. It takes us into a lower emotional vibrational state, and that trapped trauma then can come out in other ways, in kind of emotional distress or healing crises.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I think you're kind of tapping into that trapped trauma, aren't you, and releasing it, and that's enabling the person to then recover.
For sure. And I also love the journaling tool and the integration with somebody who is trauma informed and can hold space for you. But the activation allows for it to kind of come out of places you don't even realize. And sometimes in a somatic breathwork journey, and it's nothing to be afraid of, but sometimes I say I sweat out my eyeballs. Sometimes I'm crying and crying, but it's not something like crying sounds like it's going to feel terrible. On the other side of that release, you've got space. You've let go of what you didn't need. Sometimes in a somatic breathwork journey, people laugh, but it's actually a lot of people yawn, old stale fatigue coming out of the body. Some people sweat. Some people get really cold, old fatigue leaving the body. It just makes space for newness. So I find after a somatic breathwork journey, moving into journaling or moving into more talk, integration, greater ability to tap into like really feeling into gratitude can come, and all of that elevates your vibration, which is what you end up attracting from.
Yes, absolutely. The higher vibration, the higher your experience, or the more joyful your experience. So we need to move ourselves up the emotional vibrational scale so that we're in passion, joy, highest excitement, rather than anxiety, fear, depression, grief, which is obviously lower. So it sounds absolutely fascinating. Is there any other sort of simple exercises you could maybe give our audience to do to impact their nervous system?
I would love to. This can be used at night as well if you have trouble sleeping, because I have a lot of people that come and the ruminating thoughts are there, the cortisol is still high. I do believe, and I teach this in my 7-day nervous system reset, that your sleep starts in the morning, like getting yourself in the sunlight, getting your body moving, setting that circadian rhythm. But a breath pattern that can really help is counting in through the nose to the count of 4. Deep into the belly, hold for the count of 2, and then count backwards, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then loop it around. They call it conscious connected breathing. You loop it right around into the next breath. In for 4, hold for 2, out for 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now, the beauty of that is it takes you out of fight, flight, freeze, sympathetic nervous system, immediately starts to put you into the parasympathetic nervous system, which is where your body needs to be in order to sleep. Counting backwards busies the mind. So if you've got ruminating thoughts, you have to focus a little bit more. Counting to 4, holding for 2, backwards just makes the brain work a little bit more. That looping around, it's kind of that feeling of counting sheep. So that's one tool, but you could use this in the middle of the day. Let's say you spilled your coffee, you got an unexpected bill, traffic was unexpected, like you can feel your day is spiraling out of control. You can use this same, it's just a pause, It's not the fact that the coffee spilt or the bill came in. It's the fact that it's all been stacking up and your state is out of control. So to take your power back, I would just say pause, do that deep breath in to 4, hold for 2, count backwards, busy the mind. Do that maybe for 3 cycles. Now I'm going to give you one of the best ways to be able to change your state and feel better. So you can say, yes, I can change my day at any given time. That would be take a deep breath in through the nose and hold. And hold at the top and squeeze everything, tense everything, your core, your fists, even your face. Hold as long as you possibly can. Hold for 1 more second and then let go with a sigh, audibly if you can. Now, what has happened? I love to tell the science. What has happened is for that little bit, we did have you realize, oh, I can handle adrenaline. I can handle cortisol. And on the exhale, the longer exhale, that stimulated the vagus nerve. Your vagus nerve is the largest nerve in the body from the head to every single organ. And it stimulates it and says, I'm safe. I'm safe. But why I had you squeeze everything while you were holding your breath is the moment you released it, dopamine was poured into the bloodstream. And dopamine is that feel-good neurotransmitter. And when you feel good and you've got more clarity of thought because of the breath we just did, then you can reach for a different thought. Rather than saying, oh, this is going to be one of those days, you can say, you know what? I'm turning this day around and you're in control again.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much. Well, it sounds like a really fascinating journey. And what's because obviously we always talk about doing our Dharma, finding our purpose, following our purpose. But the spiritual path, I think, it does test us. So you obviously said that you went through some testing times with your mother who's no longer with us. And this obviously you turned to your advantage. And I think there's a real wisdom in that, because obviously what you've done is you've taken a negative experience and turned it into a positive. Like, what advice would you have for our listeners who are potentially going through a more negative experience? Like, how would you advise them to tune into their spiritual path?
Number 1, I would say change your state. Use one of the breath patterns. Come in for a complimentary call. I'll give you a few others. Change your state, because if I told you this up front, if you're in a dark time, I have been there. If I said, from contrast comes clarity. Be like the jellyfish. From you contract and then you expand. You're in the contrast right now, but on the other side of that is evolution and movement. It is hard to receive that. If I say everything happens for you, not to you, when you're in a dark time, that feels like you're being kicked when you're down. But when you can regulate your state, and I hope you can hear the love in my energetic vibration through my voice and in what we're sharing with you in this podcast, is because we care. We want you to feel better. Then if you could reach for that thought and realize everything is happening for me, not to me. So rather than be victim, which is so hard to hear if you didn't change your state, but rather be empowered, that's where I help people get to. Because we're all worthy of knowing that, yes, it's not going to be easy, but it can be beautiful. And it's not going to last forever. And most importantly, I'd say you don't have to do it alone. That's why they've tapped into your podcast. You give them hope every episode.
Yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Oh, well, I want to say thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. It's really kind of you to share your wisdom with us. You said that people can find you on Instagram and your website. So if you could just repeat those 2, I'll put them in the show notes so people can find them. But it'd be great if you could just repeat that for people.
Wonderful. My website is Tabatha.online. And if you click on my newsletter, I will send you a 7-minute cinematic trailer, listen with headphones, and a 5-minute 9D breathwork reset. Use it in the middle of the day. Use it with your family. Let that be a freebie. And there's also a 7-minute morning routine that offers some breathwork practices as well. So if you go to my website, tabatha.online, and or book the complimentary call, maybe do both. And my Instagram is Tabatha_DeBruyn, DeBruyn. I'd love to connect.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much. And I really thank you for coming on and sharing your story, your wisdom, and giving us some practical breath work that we can take away and try in the car or whenever we've got the moment to regulate our nervous systems.
Thank you for having me. It's been a joy.
No, my pleasure. My absolute pleasure. We will see you next week with another incredible guest on the Dharma.life podcast.
Thank you so much for listening to the Dharma Life podcast. I do hope you enjoyed this episode. Please come over and say hello on my Instagram, our Facebook group, and also please let me know what you thought. So if you are listening, please take a screenshot of the podcast that you are listening to. Tag me on Instagram and I will reshare your post, and please let me know what it is that you got out of today's episode. Remember, when we do our Dharma, we are happier, healthier, we live longer, and we have a deep sense of unshakable inner peace.